Many thanks to our old friend Harry for his leadership at this greatest of the events of the year. Harry Gonzo distinguished himself in so many ways as a citizen of this community and state for a long time, but from now on I will always think of him as a triumph of Hoosier engineering. I called him the day after the surgery, and Harry said, "Oh, it's great of you to call and check on how I'm feeling." I said, "I don't care how you're feeling. I want to know, did you buy Indiana when you bought those knees? I want to know, did they come from Warsaw?" And he promises me they did. I'm running short of ways after several years to thank each of you for what you're doing today, what you've done for Central Indiana Scouting, and for so many young men over these last few years. And there are only so many ways to express our profound gratitude. I'm not running short of reasons why it's important and why it's more urgent with every passing year that you do what you do so that the Crossroads Council can do what it does. I was just looking back and thinking back, just since last year's luncheon, a raft of fresh data about the difficulties in which young men in our nation, and Central Indiana is hardly immune, now are facing. Slipping behind in education. Only 40% of the bachelor's degrees conferred in America this year will be to men. Only 40% of the graduate degrees will be conferred to men. They are performing more poorly on test scores, which doesn't augur well for the improvement of those figures in the future. 3 out of 4 of the jobs lost in this recession were lost by men. And there's no sign yet of any recovery there. The current issue of the Atlantic magazine has a feature story called The End of Men, in which, among other things, we read that the 13 of the 15 fastest growing jobs in the country are in fields where women predominate. The only 2 where men outnumber women are computer engineering and janitor. That is not a formula for a successful society. We can celebrate, must celebrate the tremendous rise of women in this country over the last couple of generations, a huge strength for America. It was long overdue, we know that. Sad if the young men of the country aren't prepared to continue holding up their end of the deal, and their contributions economically and in leadership capacities as character builders themselves for the children who will follow them. 100 years ago, at the dawn of scouting, still the premier figure in American life, I suppose, was Teddy Roosevelt. Just 3 years out of being president and about to try to be president again, and his ethic, I think, permeated America at that time. Teddy Roosevelt, you'll recall, was the principal exponent of the vigorous life, a life of rigor, of study, of physical fitness, of love of the outdoors. Teddy Roosevelt was a scout before somebody invented the organization. And I happened to catch his biographer, Edmund Morris, a Brit. He's now written 3 great books about TR. I happened to catch him on television the other night, and it was stunning. Somebody asked him about American life today, and he was pretty tough on us. He said, "You Americans," he said, "Teddy Roosevelt wouldn't recognize you. You're lazy. You're obese. You're undisciplined. You don't understand why you're slipping away, your position of world leadership slipping away." Well, Edmund Morris wouldn't have said those things about a Boy Scout, which is just another reason we need so many more of them. You know, with each passing year, I become more admiring of Scouting, more almost obsessed with its necessity and with our need not just for more Scouts, but for more organizations like Scouting that promote the same values, the same character traits, the same earned self-esteem in young people. They're called merit badges for a reason. Nobody just gives them to you so everybody can have a trophy. Scouts work hard, are tested, and earn every recognition that comes to them. And so, again this year, as every year, I thank you for caring enough to be here, for your generosity, what it says about our state, that here in this room today, as someone just told us, is the largest single gathering, the most successful such gathering in America to help this most necessary of all organizations. If you're not proud of that, think again. I just hope that somehow word gets out about your example. We'd be such a stronger nation if there were an event like this in every meaningful community across the United States. Maybe one day there will be. But let's just agree for today that it's been a fabulous 100 years in Scouting, that the achievements for young men and then by those young men are just an essential part of the greatness of this country and the great future greatness that we aspire to. Let's recognize that Scouting's second century will be even more essential than its first.